Hey everyone. So this is a bit of an impromptu video just because the timing for this ended up working out pretty well. My sister is home for the weekend and I'm actually home for spring break, and this car got washed today, so I figured this would probably be as good of a time as any to give you guys a little bit of a tour and let you guys know how it's held up. So we've had this car since August of 2010, and we got it with 48,000 miles on it. It currently sits at 115,000 miles, so I think my sister has driven it a little bit, or put a little bit lower miles on it than the previous owner, since, they put on quite a bit for 3 years. This is a 2-owner car, and I guess just to get started, I can show you guys, this is an SEL Plus model. So this is a 2007, and Ford, I think, was in a little bit of a transition phase, because in 2008, they ended up adding the limited trim, and then I think that got 19-inch wheels. Let me check quick. I think these have 2008 or 18-inch wheels, I should say. Yep, R18. So then in 2008 they added the limited trim, they added the power tailgate, and I think, from as far as I know, they added a backup camera which went under this Ford logo right here, and that ended up moving the liftgate release, which is under the Ford logo, to an actual handle in the door right about there. So yeah, this is a bit of an odd car. It's pretty much fully loaded. It has everything except for nav, which I think is a good thing, probably just because 2007 navigation systems might not have held up the best to the years. So I can demonstrate the remote start quick if I remember how to use it. It's been a while. I think you have to have it locked, obviously, so I'll see if I can get this to focus right. And it's locked, and then it does have a separate switch right here, which I can show you guys for the remote start. And I think you hit it twice. Maybe hold it. Okay, hold it. There it goes. So then what you're hearing is Ford's 3.5 liter V6. This does not have the 3.7, which was introduced, I think, in the 2011 model year for the sport trim. I will say this engine I think it sounds great for what it is, but it does not get the best gas mileage. I think it actually is worse than my RX 330, and it's definitely not ideal, but it is a bigger car and it weighs a little bit more and it has more features, so I guess you can't really complain too much. And then also, if I remember correctly, one really nice feature about the remote start in this car is if you unlock it and open the door, it does not automatically turn off like a lot of Japanese cars do. And I think all you have to do is put the key in the ignition and turn it to on, and then I think you can drive it. Yep, perfect. Which I think that's actually a great feature, considering, with remote start, if the engine is turning off and on a lot, that might add a little bit of stress to the engine. So I can pop the hood. This car has lived a lot of its life outside, so there's maybe a few leaves under the hood here. So we'll see if I can find the old latch one-handed. Not quite as used to this car as my car. Here we go. Okay, so then, yep, you can hear the 3.5 liter V6 ticking away. I want to say it's around 270 horsepower. Don't quote me on that. It's definitely more powerful than my car. I think it's comparable to my dad's RX 350. So now I guess it was as good of a time as any to talk about reliability. So this car has actually been very reliable. Shockingly, I'd say that we have had less problems with this one than my own car. And obviously, my car has never left us stranded, but being a first model year, really early production, we, like I said in other videos, we've had to replace the radiator a few times. And this one has not really had a bunch of mechanical issues. So initially when we got the car, there ended up being a leak from the seal in the transmission, and we got that seal replaced. That was done for free under warranty. Then later that year, I think it was that year, actually no, 2 years after, there was a bit of a glitch, which I've seen a video like this on YouTube before, where the car, something with I think the transmission computer kind of glitches out, and we were driving down the road, and then suddenly the speedometer went to 0, and the odometer had dashes through it, so it basically said that we weren't moving, and I don't think it recorded miles for that time. The transmission also wasn't really shifting very well, so that was definitely an interesting experience. However, it ended up fixing itself after we turned it off and let it sit parked for a while. Now, I think the biggest issue with this car is the rust. So this car again has lived most of its life outside, so I guess we'll grant it a little bit of credit there. But the wheel arches have actually started to rust pretty bad. This side is not quite as bad. It's just kind of hidden underneath paint right here. You can probably see it bubbling there. You can probably make out a little bit of the orange from the rust. Now this side, if you guys, I mean, you might have already seen this earlier in the video, this side's pretty bad. You know, it's rusting through here, it's bubbling up. I don't think it seems as bad on the inside. It's probably, the lighting's not gonna show it. So that's not good. I think also on the inside of these back doors, yeah, right in here, it's also rusting. If I can get the camera to focus, yeah. So the rust proofing definitely is not this car's strong suit. However, I think they've fixed this in the 2008 models just because I haven't really seen a ton of Edge models that have been super rusty. See, and then again, I'm just comparing this to my own car because mine's obviously a 2004, so then it's 3 years older. Actually, it's 4 because it was built in 2003, and the only rust is on the tailgate, so the quality is a little bit concerning there. Let me check my note card because I know my sister, I asked her if she wanted me to say anything. Oh, additionally, this car, it seems like it goes through tie rods a fair amount. I think the tie rods have been replaced twice, which is a little bit odd, I would say. Another thing is, which we got the car like this, the chrome on the edges is actually missing pretty much. So there's, I don't know if that'll show up on the camera, but the chrome peeled off, and there's actually a technical service bulletin for it. But we obviously missed the original bumper to bumper warranty, and that, so the technical service bulletin could have been applied by the previous owner, but we obviously missed that. So Ford knows it's an issue, and I mean, again, it's just appearance, so, or cosmetic, so it doesn't really affect how the car drives. Let me see what else she wanted me to say. So yeah, she said the rust was concerning. The brakes, again, as known on this platform, I think it's the CD3 platform. The brakes are definitely not a strong suit on this car. My sister said, like, there was one time that she had to panic brake, brakes braked all the way, and the ABS didn't go off. Which that's a little bit concerning. I think that, you know, a car should for sure be able to lock its brakes and cause the ABS to go off in the dry. That's pretty iffy, I would say. And she also thinks, I'm not sure, you know, if this is, it has decent tires on it, but she says that the ABS is really sensitive in the snow too. So like pretty much any amount of braking, maybe not any amount of braking sets it off, which again, I've put a fair amount of miles on this car. I've driven it probably about maybe 1,000 miles in total, and I'd agree with the brakes. Obviously I've never driven in the snow, so I can't attest to the ABS. However, I think this will be a good time to go inside just to talk about some features right now. I also should mention that this color, I think, is pewter metallic as an optional color. I don't think it carried over very many years. If anything, it might have made it to 2008 and then discontinued. I mean, and again, take everything that I'm saying with a grain of salt because I don't know everything about these Ford Edges, but I think I know a fair amount. So this car also, since it's an SEL Plus, has the leather interior, which is, I apologize for the glare. So this is obviously the black interior. It's held up really well, actually. Obviously the seats, you know, aren't quite Lexus leather soft, but I mean, the bolsters are barely showing anywhere. I mean, it probably helps that my sister's obviously not a big person. Something that is kind of odd about these seats, however, is that only the bottom is power. So it'll only slide forward and backwards by power. Otherwise, the back is manually reclining. And this car does have the auto, or the memory seats, so then when you start it up, the seat ends up sliding forward to whatever you had it set at before. So it's kind of, the easy access feature. This car has the automatic headlights, and something that I absolutely love about this car that I wish my car had was the headlights come on when you turn the wipers on. And that's fantastic just because I'll always have to manually turn on my headlights then if I have my windshield wipers on. So then you guys can see the trip computers inside these gauges, and it's got 115,000 miles. And there are a few rattles, as to be expected. Again, it's not a Lexus, so I can't really expect Lexus quality. However, I will say, this I think is actual aluminum. This, now that I'm feeling it, I think it's painted plastic. I remember in high school I was convinced that this was aluminum because it felt really, it would always be cold in the mornings, but I don't think this feels like aluminum. I do apologize, there's a few of my sister's belongings in here. However, these materials inside are not necessarily the most luxurious. This is all hard touch plastic. This is padded, so the armrests are nicely padded. And you know what, I mean, the thing is, I think it looks pretty good. So at least, it's not cheap and like, I guess, chintzy per se, but it's, not the highest quality. One thing that I do think is interesting is this car only has an automatic down window. So then obviously that's automatic down, and then if you do the double D10 up, it won't go. So that's a bit of a, odd omission in my mind. So my sister says that this car is a fantastic stereo. So this has the upgraded stereo. I don't know if Ford was partnered with Sony in 2007, so I this one's obviously not the Sony. Let me see if I can get the glare to go away. This is obviously not the Sony sound system. However, it is the Ford premium sound system. She also says it's great in the snow apart from the ABS, so the all-wheel drive system is really good. And then obviously, like there is so much space in this car too. I feel like I definitely think it's a little bit more spacious than my car. I mean, it is a size, it's a little bit bigger than my car, so that's definitely a nice feature. Now I think one of my favorite features about this car, one of my sister's as well, is the huge panoramic sunroof. So this goes all the way to the back. Obviously there is a bit of a separation right in here, but it's fantastic because this entire front panel will actually slide all the way back. There have been a few times where it's gotten a little bit jammed, and then obviously, or I shouldn't say obviously, then we were able to get it closed by just holding the button. And my sunroof will do that too occasionally, so I don't think it's a, I think it might just be something to do with it heating up or something, where it's not a permanent issue. Again, back in here, the materials aren't the best. They've held up well. But then the back seat space, I apologize, I might actually go to the other side so there's a bit less glare. The back seat space is fantastic in this car. It's definitely bigger than my car. And you can fit just, like, there is no problem fitting 3 people since this is also a really wide car. Additionally, I do like how this center armrest folds down. It gets a little funky though when you have the cup holders open, just because then it's a little bit far back, so there's not a ton of space for your armrest or for your arm to rest on. Additionally, this is probably a good time to talk about, I love the fact that this has contrast stitching. I think Ford does a really good job with their leather seating surfaces. And I'll pop into the back quick. No, there's no release other than this, since there's no power release. But then again, the trunk here is huge. You can't complain. It's definitely bigger than my car, since there's less of a protrusion from the wheel arches, which may have a less complicated suspension than mine. You do get the big subwoofer in the back, which is really nice. However, my sister also really likes that you have the remote releases for the folding seats. So then you just hold it here, and then that one goes down, and then you fold that, and it's super easy. You don't even have to go into the back at all. However, you can still recline the seats, fold them and recline them. There are little levers, which this one's hidden by the seatbelt. There's a little lever right in here, and you just pull that up, and then you can either recline it or not, or recline it or fold it. And one of the coolest features, which I didn't even know this car had, was you have a you have a folding passenger seat, and I do think that's part of the reason why they have manual backrests, which when they refreshed this car in 2011, they got rid of that for the full power seats, which I'm sure would be a more useful feature. But I've never done this before, so we'll see if I can get it to work. Let's see if I can do this. I apologize for this keyboard. Yep, here we go. So the seat folds flat, and then I can show you guys too. I'll demonstrate the folding back seat from this thing. So then you have this entire length of the car, and I'll show you guys from here. Which, that's an awesome feature. I think that's really useful, and I'm a little disappointed Ford couldn't keep that. But I mean, look at the length that you have in this car. There are very few cars that actually allow for that, and I think that's a really cool feature. So this video ended up being a little bit longer than I wanted it to be. I'm just gonna double check my notes to make sure I covered everything that my sister wanted me to. I know she absolutely loves this car. She will for sure be getting another Ford Edge. We've definitely talked about it before. She loves the third, or I think it's second gen. Yeah, the second gen. We'll see if I can get her into a sport. Otherwise, you know, just the standard Edge will be perfect for her needs. I think that covers everything. So if you guys have any questions, I'll try my best to answer it. Otherwise, I can always ask my sister too. So I hope you guys found this video helpful, and I'll see you next time.